we have the wonderful Maribye. He's been hanging around all evening. What a brilliant way to start the day. He was seen, I think, around about 3 o'clock on the dam cam, and here he is. He's perched on a log. We were just trying to debate whether or not the waterbuck being in the water has anything to do with the leopard, but you can see the waterbuck, as you saw, was looking the other way. So we don't think so. Good morning, Maribye. I can hear monkeys alarming, the guinea fowls were going, and that was actually the guinea fowls and Craig's ears who helped us find Maribye. I don't know if you can hear, all the geese are making their sort of standard fuss, but there are some monkeys calling in the background. But Maribye has just perched on a log next to Gary Dam, and he's eyeing up this waterbuck in the water, but it might be, well, he's quite capable of taking it down, but it will be a good scalp for him. But we're just trying to debate whether or not this waterbuck being in the water has anything to do with Maribye. We don't think so, because there was a second male waterbuck here as well, so I think they had a little bit of a territorial little skirmish. The other male waterbuck has disappeared, but Maribye seems to be uninterested, really. He's just enjoying the view by the look of it. But he's been hanging around here all evening by the look of it. I know Cedric had him here yesterday, and I was also watching yesterday when he went tearing after that scrub hare. That was a very cool sighting, and I particularly liked just how excited Cedric got. But he does look a little bit skinny. He could use a decent meal. But there's plenty of impala around here on quarantine. In fact, I've driven past impala. There's waterbuck around, there's zebras around. But yeah, a zebra might be a little bit much for him. That being said, I once saw a 2-year-old male, so a little bit younger than Maribye, take out a full-grown kudu bull. So never underestimate the power of a leopard. And your fluffy ears, eh? He's now looking at this waterbuck. He's probably wondering, if only I could swim. Maybe you should be a jaguar. If you were a jaguar, maybe you could have a go. I don't know if you can hear the monkeys in the background, that noise that they make. We are very fortunate. Logan, good morning. What determines the size? I think the simple answer is genetics. Oh, look at that. What an athlete. Are you going to lie there, you absolute star? What a poser. It'll just be genetics. Some of it will be inherited from the genes of the parents. But I think, to be honest, Logan, that's about all I can give you. I've never heard of any other reason. I mean, you do sometimes get regional differences. If you lived in a really thick area, for example, perhaps maybe your rosettes would be more closely packed together, sort of evolutionarily speaking, just because of the way that it might offer you slightly better camouflage. For example, and I'm sort of maybe clutching at straws a bit here, but let's take kudu for an example. So in this area, generally speaking, the kudu that we see have quite narrow horns. Whereas if you go to an area which is far more open and has less heavily vegetated, then you will find potentially that the kudus will have more widespread horns because they get stuck on vegetation, and it's just easier to move around. So yeah, but for the size of rosettes, I think we're just going to have to put it down to quite simply genetics on that one. But thank you for the question, Logan, and everybody else. Please do keep those questions coming in, and your comments and anything else you'd like to know. What a classic leopard pose. You're doing some birding, Maribye. Maybe he's watching the geese and the lapwings. Sorry, I heard a comment there about Maribye's whiskers. I didn't hear who it was from, unfortunately. I'm sure Max will let me know in a moment. But you're quite right. They do have very long whiskers, and leopards have the longest whiskers, I think I'm right in saying, of any cat in the world in comparison to their body sizes. I think possibly Cliff. Sorry, I'm struggling to pick up the comms. Cliff, if it's not Cliff, I apologise. If whoever that was named sounds very similar to Cliff, then thank you for the comment regardless. But because of the leopard's habitat or habitat preference of quite thick vegetation, remember those whiskers, or vibrissae are the fancy name for whiskers, are sensory organs. They are actually wider than the whole body. So if you look at a leopard sort of directly front on, you'll see the whiskers are wider than the hips, or other than the shoulders. And that's a brilliant way that when you're moving through the bushes that you can gauge how big a gap is. Are you going to brush the vegetation and make a noise to give away your position? Can you fit through that little gap in between the bushes? And of course, those whiskers are actually sort of inset into the jaw there, or into the skin around the jaw, obviously, and they're kind of set. There's like a bubble, if you like, of fluid or of little blood, and any sort of sensory information there causes those whiskers to move. And remember that vibration travels very, very well through fluid, so they're very, very sensitive to any form of movement, and can then be it can then interpret that sensory input. A nice way to sort of think about that is, I don't know if you ever laid in the bath and if there's a TV on in the other room, and you might not really be able to hear the TV very well, but if you put your head under the water and let the water flood into your ears, then you can hear the TV much more clearly. Yes, it's a bit distorted, of course, but you can hear the sound waves a lot better, because the sound travels better through that thicker medium.